Elliot Davidson. Hi, Peter. Which current drivers would go well on an oval? Any benefits of being a short corner driver? Love the work and short corner t-shirts. Short corner t-shirts. Yeah, we're going to have to do that. We're just looking at the whole merch situation at the moment. My man is investigating whether we continue with the current people or whether we go to a new lot. And I think I'm not really involved in any of that, but I'm going to do some short corner merch. It's going to be good fun. In terms of short corner, it's interesting, Indy, isn't it? Because Nigel Mansell was immediately quick on ovals, and he did go in a little bit earlier than most of the guys against whom he was racing. Arie Luyendyk, he was really quick at that in that season, 93, 94. He would be going a little bit earlier than Arie, for example. So yeah, short corners do work for sure at Indy on ovals, no question about it. And it's about rotation again. And I'll tell you what, this is a perfect segue now, because I did actually ask Linus Lundqvist when we chatted about ovals and what Indy's like to drive these days. It's part of the interview. So with no more ado, this is the chat I had with Linus Lundqvist, who finished third in Alabama last weekend in the Chip Ganassi car. And I caught him, and he's still on the wave of euphoria from that P3. So enjoy.
Yeah.
Linus, great to talk to you. Great to see you again after all this time, and congratulations on that P3. I mean, from where we sit, you're adapting to the whole thing really quickly. I don't know what it feels like for you, whether that P3's a big surprise, whether it's overdue. How do you feel in terms of dancing with the music at the moment?
Yeah, thank you. Good to see you again, Peter. Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit tricky because I went into the season not really knowing what the expectations were, but obviously hoping that we would be able to compete quite quickly for, top positions. And that is, at the end of the day, why I'm here and why I love motorsport, is to compete for wins. And obviously joining a team like Chip Ganassi Racing, you have the ability to fight for wins straight away. And I'm still not there yet, but it has taken me quite a while to get comfortable with everything and making sure that you can be competitive week in and week out, because all the drivers in the series, they're so good. So you have to bring your A game every single day. And this weekend everything kind of fell into place, and we were fast when we needed to. Strategy was good, and we walked away with a podium.
You talk about the sound of the driving, and for sure you're right there. Can you give us some explanation or background, though, as to why it can be apparently so up and down in terms of one weekend to the next? Is that all to do with how difficult it is to get the setup right, or is it some of it to do with the level of driving as well?
I think everything combined. Firstly, because it is a spec series, everything tends to be a little bit closer. But that also means that if you're able to find a 10th or two in a setup difference, you're not gaining 1 or 2 places. You might be getting 10 or 12 places. So it makes a big difference if you're able to roll out a little bit better. And as we tend to do, it's like, if you start in a good place, it's easier to improve from there. Rather, if you start, behind the 8 ball, it's even tougher to kind of get in front of it again. So I think that's kind of why you see these big swings. And it's not that you've lost half a second of performance. It's just that, oh, we've lost 2/10 because the setup wasn't right, or maybe you missed a lap in qualifying, and you go from competing in the fast 6 to being dropped out in round 1.
Let's just go back a little bit to the day you learned that you'd got the Ganassi drive, and the build up to that, and how the connection was made, and how you felt that night.
It was the craziest time of my life, I would say, because this was in the mix of when I first got the call as well to do my first ever IndyCar race with Mayer Shank Racing in Nashville at the end of last year. And I did that weekend and did pretty well, even though I crashed in the race. Apparently I did well enough for some of the teams to start, making some phone calls and asking if I was available. And then, some discussion happened around that time. And then when the Ganassi offer was on the table, I realized that this is where I want to be. And I was able to sign the deal. And I still remember it very vividly because my parents were in town, and I took them to dinner, and I ordered in like a bottle of champagne. I didn't tell them anything because I had signed it like, I don't know, only an hour or two before. So I took in a bottle of champagne, and then I said, we're celebrating. And they thought, oh, we're celebrating because you did your first IndyCar race. I was just like, no. we've signed a big contract here. And I told them the whole thing. So it was special to kind of have them with me, because as much as it is my journey, it's their journey as well.
And Linus, as you're talking through that, I'm thinking, and you're a professional racing car driver, you're getting paid to race. This is a category where talent is rewarded. And obviously there are lots of categories in Europe where you can make it if you're really quick, but you need a lot of, I don't know if it's luck or whatever it is, but it's much more difficult in Europe, isn't it? And you made the plunge after winning the British Formula 3 Championship, doing Euro Formula 3. You kind of ran up against a brick wall in terms of budget and everywhere else, where to go. And then you went to America, and now look at you, you're being employed by a front-running team on merit. And that says a lot about IndyCar these days, I think.
Yeah, and it says a lot about, I think, the whole American ladder system, because without that, I would not be here today either. You know, I got the drive to do the FR Americas Championship in 2020, was able to find a little bit of budget to do that. But when I won that championship, I got a scholarship to do Indy Lights. And without that scholarship, I would never have done Indy Lights. And I did 2 years of that. And, you know, the second year that we won it, the scholarship helped me, you know, to fund some of the races that I did in IndyCar last year as well. So without that initiative, I don't think that I would have gotten the ride. And without getting to do those 3 races last year, I would not be in the position I am. So I think it just kind of proves that it works. I will not say that it's easy. It's still very, very hard. But I'm extremely thankful for what America has brought to me so far. And yeah, I'm loving life over here.
Linus, a lot of Europeans, I mean, there's been a lot of Europeans coming over to IndyCar and Indy Lights even over the last decade, but there's a lot there right now. And one of them, actually, I think you've got a bit of experience with from Europe, right? Théo Pourchaire.
Yeah, it's good to see Theo coming over here. Obviously one of many F2 drivers coming to the scene. I think it's awesome. And it's funny, I haven't had a chance to talk to him about it yet, but I actually coached him in 2019 when he was doing a day in the EFO car around Silverstone. So this was, you know, 5 years ago. But it is funny seeing, you know, these drivers that you've kind of known about, at least from Europe, and or might even worked with, coming over to the US now. So yeah, we're definitely creating a little bit of a European army coming over here.
And what was your report card like that day when you coached him?
I will say I remember, because he did F4, and that was like one of his first days in the F3 car, and he impressed both me and the team like straight away. Like the high speed, I imagine, or I remember seeing him through Maggots and Beckett's like his first couple of laps, and it was damp as per usual around Silverstone, but there was no hesitation, and I was just like, okay, this kid can drive. It was you know, quite evident from lap 1.
Talking about high speed, you got some ovals coming up. No, you're no stranger to ovals, obviously, from Indy Light, but what are you thinking in your mind in terms of the Indy 500 and the big ovals coming up?
Super excited for that. Obviously, the Indianapolis 500 is the highlight of the year and something that you look forward to, but it's also probably one of the hardest things to do. We did have the open tests here a couple of weeks ago, and I did the ROP, the rookie orientation program, last year, and I was able to go through it no problem. But one thing that I did learn during the open test, it's fine when you're on your own, but then you put, you know, 10, 15 cars ahead of you, and oh my God, the car changes. All of a sudden, you know, you're pulling gears that you've never seen before. You're going with speeds that you've never been going before, and obviously the car behaves worse in the corners. So that's kind of where the focus is going to be, just making sure that we're comfortable in traffic. And I know that, you know, the team almost always have a very good car, so it's just going to be about bringing my confidence level up, so we're good to fight when it comes to race day.
And what is a lap of Indy like now on your own in terms of lifts, possible braking, how the car moves around? What is it like? How far ahead are you looking as well?
Yeah, when you're by yourself, it's easy flat depending on the downforce level. Obviously, you can strip the car of all downforce and it will be tricky. And the team keeps telling me it's because the days that we've done so far has been pretty cool. But then come qualifying day, when it's, you know, 95 plus degrees and it's, you know, they turn up the boost or you're going actually faster, they said that's when it's tough to be flat even on your own. But in the race, like, you can't just look on the car ahead. You need to be looking, you know, 4, 5, maybe even 6 cars ahead to see if there's a checkup, because you don't want to just be reacting to the driver ahead, because then you're going to be the one being caught out. So you always want to think, you know, 4 or 5 drivers ahead and see what they're doing and see if you can benefit from it. So that's a big part of the learning curve for me right now.
The other thing about Indy is that you can qualify 28th at Indy and still win the 500, right? So in that sense, how important is qualifying for you? How much do you think about qualifying as distinct from the race?
I mean, majority of the focus goes into the race, just because, like you said, you know, you can basically start from last and you can still win that race. But like in any race, it definitely helps by starting up front. So you want to qualify as well as possible, but the majority of the focus goes into the race. And also because it is so much tougher, at least from a rookie driver's point of view, it's, you know, it's a completely different challenge. You know, I thought I kind of knew what oval racing was about until they sent me out in traffic during one of the open days. And I said, okay, well, I'm back to square one, because I got a lot of work to do here.
What's life like for you? You live in Indianapolis, I guess, Ganassia based there.
I'm in north of Indy, so a little place called Carmel. It's where a lot of drivers are based, actually. So I'm only 10, 15 minutes away from the shop.
I think that's where Zach Brown started life as well, is it not?
Yeah, I think so too. And you know, even in the same apartment complex that I'm in, I think there are like 10, 15 drivers from, you know, IndyCar, Indy Lights, and all the other junior series. So it's quite funny when you walk around.
Well, I hate to think what you guys get up to at night. A lot of Scandinavians there too, right?
Yeah, a lot of Scandinavians. And yeah, we'll not talk about the nightly adventures that goes on in this apartment complex, but it's good. I go to a gym here nearby as well called PitFit, that Dixon and a couple of other drivers go to as well. So it's a nice little community that we have here.
What do you drive on the road?
I drive an Acura MDX. It's one of the many privileges, I will say, as an IndyCar driver, is that you get a road car from your engine manufacturer. So that was probably one of the most fun weeks that I had last year when we did sign the contract with Ganassi. I also got sent links then to Honda or Acura, and they said, spec out the car you want. And I've never had like a brand new car before. So I spent a week trying all different specs and colors and seeing what I want. So I got it delivered here at the beginning of this year, and it was cool. It's my first time having like a proper car.
Brilliant. Well, congratulations on that first podium, Linus. What was it like being up there? Good podium to be on to us, and good guys next to you.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, these are guys that, you know, you've looked up for so many, many years. Both Scott and obviously Power as well. He's a legend in the sport. So it was cool to share it with them. And honestly, I'm still not sure that I'm really have processed the whole thing, because it was a crazy race as well. We started in 19th and worked our way through. First half was basically just fuel saving, and then the second half was like try to pass as many cars as you can. And then they came on the radio with like 10 to go and said, "Oh, you're P3." I'm like, "Okay, well, thanks for making me nervous." And then yeah, it was special again because my family was there. So when I jumped out of the car and they were there, it was a big moment. You know, I'm not gonna lie, it was almost a little bit emotional, but a moment that you'll remember forever.
And Felix was P4, right?
Yeah, Felix was P4. He was, I think, one of the first ones to come and congratulate me as well.
Really good. Brilliant. I'm so happy for you. And as I say, I can't help going back to how it all started for you and thinking of guys like Rob Wilson and Boyo, and all that was good stuff. If you look back now, I guess you could say that was the right grounding on which to launch your career the way it's turned out.
Without a doubt, I would not be here today with either of those two people. You know, I would honestly say they very much laid the foundation of they built the foundation of the racing driver that I am today. And I'm very, very proud of that. And, you know, I still keep in touch. And, you know, I saw Boy only a couple of months ago. I was actually back in the UK to do a couple of days to warm up for the IndyCar season. So we'll still keep in touch, but they very much laid, the groundwork of the driver that I am today.
And tell me, do the Rob Wilson principles of flat car, little turn, big turn, do they apply to IndyCar?
They 110% apply to IndyCar. You have no idea. Like, I drive around still thinking about that in my head I hear Rob's voice in the back of my head saying flat car, and think about this, think about that. And it definitely works. Obviously there are tricks to it and, you know, ways to drive around it, but the fundamentals that he teaches you, like it applies to no matter what car I've been in so far.
How's it in Sweden now when you go back? How do the people
It's
recognize you
good.
in the street? Yeah, what's going on? They must love IndyCar because they got so many drivers out there that have done so well, going back to the Kenny
Yeah,
Brack days.
yeah, absolutely. You know, the interest in motorsport and especially for IndyCar has, you know, dramatically increased, especially since Felix and Marcus joined. So happy to be able to kind of join that little scene and hopefully bring even more attention to it. But it's good. I don't get to go back as often as I would like to, maybe only once or twice a year, but every time I go back, it's nice. See friends and family again, obviously people you miss, but it's I'm extremely thankful and happy about the life that I'm having here in the US so far. I am very much living my dream. Like you said, you know, I'm being a paid racing driver. That's at the end of the day all that you want.
Linus, a great pleasure to talk to you. Great pleasure to share a little bit of your life right now. And I'm sure you're going to go on to bigger and better things. Best of luck for those. But in the meantime, congratulations on everything you've done.
Thank you. Thank you, Peter.
Well, there we go. Linus Lundqvist. And that tied in quite well, I think, with that question about short corner drivers around ovals. And wasn't it amazing to hear him talk about having coached Théo Pourchaire? Wow. I think that means two things. Either time passes very quickly or it's a very small world. Maybe it means both. I don't know. Anyway, so there's that one. Thank you for that question. Hope that was a very impressive segue that you all enjoyed.